Good morning, everyone. I see you got here early to beat the heat. We live in a time of division. We just have to watch the news, check out social media, or just look around at our own families to see that it's true. We are divided. But before we look at that idea of division in light of today's gospel, I want to ask a question. It has to do with our first reading. What I want to know is, why did they throw Jeremiah into the well? Some of our Bible scholars here probably know the answer to that, but Deacon Tony had to do a little research to find out what happened there. Jerusalem was under attack and surrounded by the Babylonian army. All food and supplies had been cut off, and the people were going hungry. Jeremiah the prophet was saying to the soldiers and to the people that they should give up, that they should stop fighting. You cannot stop the armies of Babylon. You cannot win. He said to the king, the reason this is happening is because God is allowing it. It is a punishment for your loss of faith. You have walked away from God and his ways. You think and you behave like the unbelievers. The prophet Isaiah once said, "This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." The problem wasn't military, it wasn't political, it was moral. They were observing the moral collapse of a nation. They had lost their way, and Jeremiah was calling them out, and they didn't like it. And that's why they threw him into the well, so they didn't have to listen to him anymore. You see, speaking God's truth can make you unpopular. The truth hurts, but it can also set us free. King Zedekiah was a spineless, weak, and indecisive leader. He knew that Jeremiah was a prophet from God, but he preferred the world's lies to God's truth. He ignored Jeremiah's countless warnings, and because of that, the whole nation suffered. And this is what happens to a nation that lacks strong leadership. All suffer. Only one man stood up for Jeremiah and pleaded on his behalf, a court official, a pagan named Ebed-Melech. One person spoke up, one voice had the courage to speak the truth, and sometimes that's all it takes. One person, one voice. Throughout history, there have been those who spoke the truth regardless of the consequences. The letter today to the Hebrews says that we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. These are the witnesses who have been given testimony to God's truth throughout the ages. Jesus was probably the most outspoken one of them all. Not only did he speak the truth, but he claimed to be the truth. There's a price to pay for speaking the truth. Just look behind me. Last week, the gospel warns us, you also must be prepared, for at an hour you do not expect, the Son of Man will come. This week, Jesus warns us even more directly. His words not only startled his hearers back then, but they startle us now. Jesus is not out to comfort the crowd, not today. I think he senses that the crowd is not at all interested in what he is saying. There's a tone of exasperation in his voice. He says, "I have come to set fire on the earth, and how I wish it were ablaze even now." Jesus is not looking for lukewarm, tepid followers, those who go along to get along. He wants his followers to be bold and courageous and willing to take a stand. I heard a great homily a few weeks ago. I went up to Father after the Mass to thank him for this powerful homily. He said to me, "Deacon, preach it or go home." We all have to preach it. We all have to live it, or we may as well go home. Often God has to shake us to wake us. And that is exactly what Jesus is doing today. He's trying to shake us out of our comfort and out of our malaise. Then he asks, "Do you think I have come to bring peace to the earth?" In our world, peace means the absence of war, or worse, doing whatever you want without anybody telling you that you're wrong. That is not the peace that Jesus came to bring, and nothing could be further than the truth. Jesus is not calling us to a tranquil life, but to one like his own. He's not saying, "Follow me and you will have no troubles. Follow me and you will be popular and everyone will love you." No. Follow me and you might get thrown into a well, or worse. My brothers and sisters, in our day, when we point out moral problems that stand at the foundation of many of the ills of society today, we too may be rejected and mocked. Issues like abortion, the definition of marriage, gender identity, vax or no vax, will divide families, just as in the gospel today. We may need to resist the culture of death, even to the point of shedding our blood, as the second reading suggests. Yet, whether the opposition against us is intense or not, God calls us not to worry about what will happen when we fight for what is right. If we want to build a culture of life, a civilization of love, there are many things we can do. I think one thing is build stronger marriages. A sacramental marriage between a man and a woman must be a light to the world to show what marriage truly is. We must be open as couples, as married couples, to the gift of new life. We need to look at the spaces that are in between us in our seats, the large gaps, and say, where are they? Have I done anything to extend an invitation and welcome? Have I knocked on anybody's door or made a phone call? Hey, we miss you. We need to reach out to others. We must recognize that we are all called to holiness, not just a select few, but all the baptized, each and every one of us. In our families and in our workplaces, we must be the voice of reason, the voice of truth. Jesus wanted to set the earth on fire, and that fire must burn within us and be carried out into the world. It's the only way things will change. Jesus said it, "In this world you will face tribulation, but I have overcome the world."